He thought his red cap made him untouchable. The Texan stubbed his cigarette on the Queen's Guard's hat and mocked him with drunken insults, but one subtle move from the guard left the crowd in stunned silence. By the time the police arrived, the Texan's humiliation was complete. Here's how it all began. But before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. We share the untold stories, secrets, and traditions of the British Guards every day. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. It was just another day at Buckingham Palace, or so it seemed. The guardsman stood steadfast, his bright red uniform immaculate, and his black bearskin hat perched perfectly. The bustling crowd swarmed around him, cameras clicking, children tugging at their parents, and the occasional bold tourist leaning in too close for comfort. For the guardsman, it was routine, almost mundane. He'd endured it all, selfie sticks poking at him, overly dramatic reenactments of royal waves, and even a tourist who once attempted to tickle his chin. But today promised to be different. The crowd began to part, and from the chaos emerged a figure who commanded attention, though not for any noble reason. A stocky, sunburned man in a blindingly red "Make America Great Again" cap stumbled forward. The cap alone was loud, but the man's presence was deafening. A cigarette dangled precariously from the corner of his mouth, its ash threatening to fall at any moment, and a plastic cup filled with suspiciously amber liquid sloshed dangerously with every step. "Hey, buddy!" he hollered, his voice a grating mix of gravel and arrogance. Heads turned, cameras poised. It was clear he wasn't just here for sightseeing. "You for real?" he continued, sauntering closer to the guardsman with the unearned swagger of someone who truly believed the world revolved around him. Just standing there like some kind of robot? Man, y'all Brits sure know how to waste taxpayer money. The crowd tensed, unsure of how this interaction would unfold. Parents pulled their children closer, and tourists exchanged awkward glances, unsure whether to laugh or intervene. The guardsman, of course, didn't flinch. His gaze remained fixed straight ahead, his hands steady on his rifle. Inside, however, he was far from unmoved. "Here we go again," he thought, the internal sigh almost audible. Another loudmouth who thinks we're props for his amusement. The man wasn't done. "Come on, pal. I pay good money to be here. Give me a smile, a wink. Hell, do a little jig or something." He waved his cigarette dangerously close to the guardsman's pristine hat. The crowd murmured in growing discomfort. Was this guy serious? Did he think Buckingham Palace was some kind of theme park? Sincerely, the narrative seemed to ask the onlookers, who acts like this? We all know the answer, don't we? But the guardsman remained an unyielding pillar, his silence more commanding than any words could be. And as the red-capped tourist leaned in closer, his antics threatening to escalate, the tension in the air thickened. This wasn't going to end the way the tourist expected, not at all. The guardsman's silence seemed to act as fuel to the Texan's fire. His obnoxious bravado flared even brighter, like a flame fed by arrogance. "Come on, man," the redneck slurred, raising his plastic cup in a mock toast to himself. He took a dramatic gulp, amber liquid sloshing down his chin. "You can't just ignore me. I'm from Texas. We invented freedom." Yes, you read that right. He truly believed his state had cornered the market on liberty. And with that self-assured declaration, he staggered closer, his boots scuffing against the cobblestones. The crowd, previously abuzz with chatter, fell to a hush. Phones were raised, cameras recording what promised to be either a viral moment or an international incident. The Texan was now so close to the guardsman that the reek of cheap tequila and stale cigarettes practically radiated from him. And then, it happened. the moment that would make this man infamous. With exaggerated flair, he stubbed out his cigarette, not on the ground or in an ashtray, but on the guardsman's iconic bearskin hat. The crowd gasped audibly, a collective intake of breath so sharp it could have sliced through stone. A group of schoolchildren, mid-lick of their ice creams, froze in shock. Some adults looked horrified, while others whispered, "Is he serious? He can't be serious." Spoiler, he absolutely was. Inside, the guardsman sighed. Not the audible kind, but the deep, existential kind only a man in his position could understand. Lovely, he thought dryly. Another hat ruined. Definitely cleaning this on my break. But the Texan wasn't finished. Oh no. Fueled by his audience and his distorted sense of importance, he took things up a notch. "Betcha can't even smile, huh?" he taunted, his voice dripping with mockery. "All uptight and proper. Let me show you how we do things back home." With that, he launched into an impromptu square dance, complete with wild clapping and hoots that echoed off the palace walls. The guardsman didn't flinch, but the crowd was another story. Some burst into nervous laughter. Others looked on in horrified fascination, muttering, "This guy's unbelievable." And you? You're probably thinking the same thing. How far could this possibly go? Oh, trust me, it wasn't over yet. As the Texan leaned in for another round of taunts, the guardsman finally moved. Just a fraction of an inch, but enough to adjust his rifle ever so slightly. The action was subtle, but the effect was immediate. The Texan stumbled back, tripping over his own feet and landing squarely in a nearby flower bed. The crowd erupted in laughter, and the Texan, covered in dirt and petals, tried to recover his dignity. "Hey, that's assault, or whatever you call it here." The guardsman remained silent, but his horse, stationed nearby, let out an impeccable, perfectly timed snort. It was as if the entire palace had joined in on the joke. The chaos reached its crescendo as two police officers appeared, their stern expressions contrasting sharply with the red-faced Texan, still sprawled in the flower bed. One officer, a tall, no-nonsense woman, addressed the scene with a clipped tone. "What seems to be the problem here?" she asked, scanning the crowd before her eyes landed on the redneck. "He assaulted me," the Texan sputtered, gesturing wildly toward the guardsman who of course stood motionless as if carved from stone. The officer raised an unimpressed eyebrow. "You mean he assaulted you? You're lying in a flower bed with a cup of—" She sniffed the air. "Tequila. And you're accusing him?" The second officer stepped forward, arms crossed. "Sir, we've had multiple complaints about your behavior. Public drunkenness, defacing royal property, and causing a public disturbance. That's enough for an arrest." The Texan's bravado crumbled. "But I'm an American. I have rights," he protested, stumbling to his feet. The crowd, sensing the finale, started recording the interaction. A few shouted sarcastic remarks. "Guess freedom doesn't cover flower beds." "Don't forget your MAGA hat, mate." The guardsman, still a silent sentinel, remained unmoved, but his horse, as if on cue, let out another loud, disdainful snort. The timing was so perfect that the crowd burst into laughter, some even applauding the animal. As the officers placed the Texan in handcuffs, he tried one last protest. "You can't do this. I pay taxes. In America." "Good for you," the first officer replied dryly. "But here, you're under arrest. Let's go." The Texan was led away, muttering indignantly, while the crowd cheered. The guardsman stood firm, adjusting his rifle slightly as the commotion subsided. A small child tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mommy, why doesn't he move?" Her mother smiled. "Because he's a professional, sweetheart, and professionals don't let fools ruin their day." The guardsman didn't react outwardly, but deep inside, he allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Another tourist humbled, another shift complete. As the crowd dispersed, he returned to his silent post, a pillar of discipline amidst the chaos. If you enjoyed this story, leave a like and let us know in the comments which guard tradition you'd like us to cover next. See you in the next video.